Welcome, everybody, to the Pro Football Hall of Fame's live Friday educational program. We are so happy you're tuned in today to learn a little bit about the history of the Black College Football Hall of Fame and HBCUs. What are those? We're going to show you guys here in the next 30 to 45 minutes and giving you an inside look to not only what those two wonderful organizations and institutions are, but we're going to give you a look to inside our museum as well to show how we here in Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame are partners and have a great relationship with the Black College Football Hall of Fame. You may ask, why are we doing this topic? Well, first of all, we as the educational department, this is the debut of our program. This is a brand new educational program that any teacher, any educator out there can sign up and register for to learn, to have their class learn a little bit more about the Black College Football Hall of Fame and HBCU. So we're really excited to debut this program. And secondly, with everything going on, unfortunately, we had to cancel our big event here in Canton, Ohio, which would have been the Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We were really bummed. We had a lot of great programming. Last year's football game was a great football game. We had a lot of other great programming surrounding this Labor Day weekend. But unfortunately, like a lot of things here, we had to cancel. And we're looking forward to a bigger and better 2021. Next year, Grambling State and Tennessee State will be the two universities that are traveling here to Canton, Ohio to play in the kickoff classic weekend game in Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. So we're going to we want to still celebrate this weekend. And we're going to do so by sharing this educational presentation with you guys and kind of giving you an insight on what we do here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame and how we work hand in hand with the Black College Football Hall of Fame that celebrates great college football players who attended an HBCU. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we're going to kind of dive into this presentation and show you a little bit about what these two organizations are. First thing we're going to talk about, though, is we're going to talk about the Pro Football Hall of Fame and some of the things we believe in here in Canton, Ohio. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we're going to kind of dive in and talk about a little bit here with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is we're going to skip that video. Our first thing we're going to talk about here is our mission, our vision, and our values. The mission statement at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. Our vision is it's not just the past, it's the future. It's not just about Canton, it's the world. And it's not just a great museum for football. And as you'll see today, it is a pretty good museum. It's about a message of excellence everywhere. And lastly, our 5 values, our Hall of Fame values, are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence, all of which play a huge role in the game of football. But more importantly, they're going to play a huge role in your everyday life off the football field as well. These 5 values not only make you great athletes, but they make you even better people. So if you can take the lessons you learn on the field, and it doesn't have to be football. If you don't play sports, that's fine. If there's anything you guys like to do in your spare time, these 5 values are going to make you better at that, while also at the same time making you a better person. So we're going to dive in now to what is an HBCU. And there's a big wordy definition up there, and I'm going to kind of sum it up into one simple line. And basically what an HBCU is, it stands for Historically Black Colleges and Universities. And these organizations were put together for the sole purpose to exist to make sure men and women of color could attend college. Believe it or not, at a time in our society, there was a point where African-American men and women could not attend the college. So these organizations, places like Grambling State, Howard, Southern University, FAMU, Florida A&M, and Central State were made so these people could attend college and have the same opportunities that white people did back in this time. So these are some of the organizations, some of the names you'll see kind of come up throughout the presentation today. Some other things about HBCU, some pioneers and contributors. Now, if you had a history class, you probably talked about all 3 of these individuals. So we're going to kind of focus on these 3. First one being Mary Mcleod Bethune. And as you can assume, she had a hand in creating Bethune-Cookman College. She was one of the founders. She was actually an advisor for Franklin Delano Roosevelt, President FDR, and she was appointed by Harry S. Truman, was the only woman of color at the founding conference of the United Nations in 1945. So she had a huge role, not only in people who attend her university that is named after her, but she had a huge role in the history of the United States. Second guy we look at there is Booker T. Washington, who went to Tuskegee University. He also attended Hampton and Virginia Union, both of which are HBCUs. He founded what we now know as Tuskegee University, and Booker T. Washington was also the founder of the NAACP. And then last guy, you might have heard of him a few times. That's Martin Luther King Jr. He attended Morehouse College, which is an HBCU. He's a civil rights leader, as we all know, and we all know him for his famous I Have a Dream speech he gave in Washington, D.C. Next slide. Now we're going to look at some famous leaders. So now some of these names, these are some more recent people, some names you might see, might recognize. First one there is actor Samuel L. Jackson, also attended Morehouse College, same place as Martin Luther King Jr. Second one there, Oprah Winfrey, also an HBCU grad. She went to Tennessee State. And then last one there, Stephen A. Smith. For your sports fans, you know who Stephen A. Smith, right there on ESPN every day. He went to Winston-Salem University, which is also an HBCU. So what we're going to do now is we actually have a video we're going to show you guys. And this is Stephen A. Smith talking about the opportunities he was presented in his life because he attended an HBCU.
First of all, you got to give a lot of props to Mayor Persicki in Delaware in his office, and he's got some of his folks here, and Mayor Carney and Governor Carney and others are showing up. I was surprised because they started it about 3 years ago, and it's basically to bring attention to HBCUs, and people point out dwindling participation and things of that nature, accreditation issues and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, I come from an HBCU. Taraji B. Henson comes from an HBCU. Spike Lee comes from an HBCU. Felicia Rashad. So many different others.
DJ Envy.
DJ Envy, absolutely. And so you look at all the people that have come from HBCUs and what have you, there's a lot that HBCUs have to offer. And HBCU Week is a dedication on behalf of Delaware State, the city of Wilmington, Delaware, the mayor and others to bring attention to that. And the fact that you want active participation, particularly by African Americans in terms of enrolling folks in college and things of that nature. They got an HBCU Fair Week as well. That Friday where First Take is going down and doing the show live from the 76ers Fieldhouse there. If you're a high school senior, you show up with your grades and you show up with your SAT or ACT score, you know what, you can be eligible to be enrolled in college on the spot. There's potential scholarships that's going to be offered. And they basically, honored me because of what I've been able and blessed to achieve in my career a few months ago. And then asked me to be the ambassador for HBCU Week because they want to bring attention to HBCUs and, the importance of it all and how there's so much good that we can do in terms of generating participation, elevating the level of attention and awareness about HBCUs and what it has to offer, particularly the African Americans, obviously. And that's something that I take pride in because if it wasn't for Winston-Salem State University, again, I don't know if I would be in this position.
So as you can see there, Stephen A. Smith had a huge impact from his time at an HBCU, kind of made him the person he is today. And he wants to pass that along to that next generation. He talked about all the job fairs and career fairs and college fairs that was a part of that HBCU week, all of which are great opportunities for any student across the country to take advantage of. There's job fairs, career fairs, even right here in Ohio, there's one. So those are all opportunities that you can research and dive further into. Our next slide we're going to go to is the Black College Football Hall of Fame. What is it? And I'm going to stop my share here and bring it back to me as, one of the opportunities we have here is to host and be home to the Black College Football Hall of Fame right here in Canton, Ohio. So I'm going to send it to Nathan Martin, the Youth and Education Coordinator here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who's going to explain a little bit about the Black College Football Hall of Fame. So Nathan, go ahead.
Yeah, Jake, thanks for sending it out here. And like you said, I'm here in the Pro Football Hall of Fame that houses, as you guys can see, the Black College Football Hall of Fame. And if you'll follow me in here, we'll take a look at some of this stuff. And in 2009, the Black College Football Hall of Fame was founded by Doug Williams and Shaq Harrison. You may be wondering, what is the Black College Football Hall of Fame? Why is it even in existence? Well, first, let me give you the mission of the Black College Football Hall of Fame. And that's to preserve the history and honor the greatest players, coaches, and contributors from historically Black colleges and universities. The story of Black college football is an essential chapter to our country's history, to Black history, and like I said, most importantly, American history. And there was no home. There was no home for the Black College Football Hall of Fame. And Canton, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, stepped up and said, we will be the home of the Black College Football Hall of Fame because we think it's important that these people have a place to be honored Jake has already explained to you guys what an HBCU is, and there's these great players, and they need someplace that could be their home and their honor. And some of those great players that we think about, it's guys like that went on to the NFL and had great success. Guys like Deacon Jones, Walter Payton, Jerry Rice. If you're a fan of HBCUs, you know about Eddie Robinson from Grambling State University. And we'll talk a little bit more about this guy later, but Mel Blount is another one of those guys that had great success in the NFL and is also in the Black College Football Hall of Fame. If you follow me, we've got another portion here in our museum that honors these great players, and we got some artifacts on display right over here. We highlight some guys like Shannon Sharp, Harry Carson, Claude Humphrey, and right here, if you look, in 1892, 23 years after Rutgers and Princeton kind of kicked off college football as we know it, in 1892, you had the first game between Livingston College and Biddle University, and that was your first game between two HBCUs. And like I said, we've got some artifacts from these players, some shoes from Walter Payton. We got some gloves from Jerry Rice over here, a helmet from Art Shell. And this is just part of the way that we here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and now the home of the Black College Football Hall of Fame, love to honor the success and the greatness of these players. So hopefully you guys have a better understanding of what the Black College Football Hall of Fame is now, and I'm going to send it back to Jake.
All right, thanks, Nathan. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. We're going to dive in a little more and talk about, the Black College Football Hall of Fame coming right here to Canton, Ohio. So I'm going to share my screen, and you're going to see a picture of two individuals up there. Those individuals are our president and CEO currently here, Mr. David Baker, and Doug Williams, who was one of the founders of the Black College Football Hall of Fame. And both these individuals were asked, well, why was it so important to bring the Black College Football Hall of Fame and give it a home here in Canton, Ohio? And that first quote up there from David Baker says, their journey is an important part of the history of the game that must not be forgotten. This partnership with the Black College Football Hall of Fame will provide insight into what shaped the lives of so many heroes of this game and will serve as great inspiration to generations of fans. And, that kind of reflects our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, to honor the heroes of the game. It doesn't say we're going to honor the Gold Jackets. It doesn't say we're going to honor the Hall of Famers. We're going to honor the heroes of this game and all the individuals who changed the outline, the outlay of what the game of football is. And all those members of the Black College Football Hall of Fame are definitely a part of that. And then the quote there from Mr. Williams, he says, the Black College Football Hall of Fame is thrilled to have a permanent home in Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This special partnership will allow us to preserve Black college football history for generations to come. So we're going to continue on here and talk a little bit more about some of the Hall of Famers who are enshrined here in the Pro Football Hall of Fame that also attended HBCUs.
There was a time when we judged football players by the color of their skin before the content of their character.
Ooh, child, things are gonna be easier.
With 28 enshrinees at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the pride of having played at an historically black college and university. Some by choice, many by necessity. From these schools step Super Bowl heroes, professional champions, Deacon, Bullet Bob, Sweetness, and many more. The thunder of their hearts carried them to acclaim. The honor of their deeds opened a nation to racial equality. As my coach Eddie Robinson said, this is America. We can be anything we want to be.
So we really like that video here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame because it does show a great representation of all the people who went to HBCUs enshrined in the Black College Football Hall of Fame, but also enshrined here in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And they all had a huge impact on the game. You saw some names up there, Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, both record holders in the history of the NFL. So if they didn't get that chance to attend an HBCU, if they weren't provided that opportunity, who knows what the aspect, the landscape of the NFL would look like today. So we really want to show that these HBCUs really provide a solid foundation and a great impact on the game professional football. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to talk a little bit about some other ways that the Black College Football Hall of Fame and HBCUs and us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame are all related. And the first thing we're going to talk about is something called the James Harris Doug Williams Fellowship. And I'll let my screen pop up there. And this is a great opportunity. This is grants a unique career advancement opportunity to a graduate of an HBCU school at the Pro Football Hall of Fame right here in Canton, Ohio. This position provides the fellow the opportunity to have a diverse experience in the organization management, daily operations, and well-rounded rotational program to experience all of the departments here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And we are lucky enough to have a gentleman by the name of Mcleod Blunt, who is the fellow, the part of the fellowship here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Nathan Martin is in our Gold Jacket Lounge in the Pro Football Hall of Fame to sit down and kind of talk with Mr. Mcleod Blunt about his experiences and some of the things he learned as a part of this great opportunity. So Nathan Mcleod, I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah, Jake, thanks for sending it out here. And like you said, we're in the Gold Jacket Lounge now. You guys saw me earlier. We were downstairs in the portion of the museum that's the Black College Football Hall of Fame. And I'm sitting here with a good friend, a good co-worker of mine, Mcleod Blunt. We got this great image, the class of 2018 behind us, Ray Lewis right there in the middle, Emmett Smith. If you look up here, we got Mcleod's dad, Mel Blunt. We mentioned that we were going to talk about, I know he's a proud son. You know, his dad's a proud father of him. But Mcleod is here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he's a part of the James Harris and Doug Williams Fellowship. And Mcleod, can you tell us, like, what has that experience been like for you?
Yeah, well, first, I think it is a great experience because, you know, you have trailblazers like Doug Williams and Shaq Harris who, you know, paved the way not only on the field, but, you know, also still creating opportunities. And for me, you know, this has been a great experience. And I think more importantly, because it kind of shows the transition and is an example, you know, to players and athletes that, you know, it's not only about, you know, your success on the field, but also the opportunities on the field. And the fellowship has granted me, you know, a lot of opportunities to be engaged in the game of football on the business side, and off the field, from being engaged in, you know, meetings from a management level to being able to, you know, lead initiatives and projects. And we're, you know, really excited about having the Black College Hall of Fame Classic here. But it was one of the components of the partnership between the Black College Hall of Fame and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You know, along with the Classic, building the museum, and the fellowship is the third component of it. Yeah. So it's really been, you know, a great experience for me to be able to engage with the football world and the business side of football, you know, all across the country and across the league. So it's really exciting, and excited to, you know, be the first fellow,
the first one ever,
and to see where it grows and goes from there.
Yeah, and you've got to kind of have a hand in kind of looking at where it can go, ways it can improve, and ways that we can continue. Like Mcleod said, give these students, these fellows, the chance to understand, you know, we all watch the game of football on Sundays, on Saturdays, Friday nights, you know, at all levels, and kind of see it from the business side. You know, I'm sure you've been to some boring meetings. I'm sure you've been to some exciting ones, but it's a great experience nonetheless. So you mentioned, and I mentioned, it's called the James Harris and Doug Williams Fellowship, right? And you mentioned that those guys are trailblazers. So can you kind of tell us a little bit more? What do those guys mean to you personally as Mcleod Blunt?
Well, I mean, they're heroes. They're, you know, models. They're role models for me. You know, they're guys that I, you know, look up to and have, I mean, they're friends and extended father figures to me. So I have a pretty close relationship with Doug and Shaq. But, you know, for Shaq to be the first African-American quarterback to start an NFL game, and Doug to be the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl and be a Super Bowl MVP, throwing for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in a Super Bowl game, you know, it's just, you know, really an example of what HBCUs have done and the players that have come from them. And it's a tribute to the story of HBCUs, because, you know, at a time, you know, players weren't afforded the opportunity, you know, through segregation, et cetera, to be able to attend other universities. But, you know, to come from an HBCU, you know, it means something because you're coming from a different place. You know, sometimes we say you know, you gotta get it out the mud or get it, you know, get it the hard way.
Right.
But in HBCUs, I mean, that's, you know, what you do, but you know, you have the same opportunities um, because of what those schools do and, you know, what they develop for you. So, uh, you know, it was interesting because we know Doug is, you know, a player personnel director for, you know, the Redskins, and he serves in that role with the front office. And we, you know, had some conversations of my transition because I went up to Washington for, you know, a workout. So to have opportunities like that and on the playing side, and then to be able to represent those two pioneers, trailblazers, and leaders, you know, through this position, you know, it really means a lot to me.
Yeah, certainly. You talked about those guys, and they're kind of trailblazers. They're heroes. They're even father figures for you. And the sad thing is, and hopefully we can bring some attention to and shed some light on, a lot of people don't know who James Shaq Harris is. A lot of people don't know who Doug Williams is. But without guys like that, we wouldn't have stars in the game today like a Lamar Jackson, you know, like a Russell Wilson. I mean, these guys are truly trailblazers and pioneers for what they did and what they experienced both at the HBCU level in college and then also in the NFL. And it was because of the color of their skin. And it's awesome what they're doing now, though, to honor other trailblazers and pioneers with the Black College Football Hall of Fame. So this one should be a little bit more fun question, I guess, for you. But can you tell us what your favorite moment's been working here at the Hall of Fame?
I can honestly say that my favorite moment here has been just the networking and building of, you know, relationships. You know, I'm big on building relationships and being able to come here and, like I said, connect with people all across the football world has been, you know, truly special to me. Being able to see some of the different things on the other side of football, you know, it's been a great experience, you know, all around. I think being able to sit in meetings when everything is calm and there's nothing going on, but then when you have an enshrinement come together, or when you have a Super Bowl come together, when you have a Black College Hall of Fame Classic come together, I mean, it's the same thing in football, is that you practice a whole off season, you practice a whole preseason, you game plan and practice throughout the week to get to one opportunity to execute that. And I mean, it's the same thing, you know, here with some of the things that we do, you know, at the Hall of Fame. And when you get to execute that and see it come together, you know, it's really special.
Yeah, and you think about the game of football, and this is coming from somebody that never played a down or tackle football in my life, but you think about it and they talk about the brotherhood and the way that it's a family, and you talk about all the work that goes into that and building those relationships and how the relationships is really one of the best parts you've had being here at the Hall of Fame. And we try to embody that same mindset here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame within our mission that Jake talked about earlier, where we honor the heroes of the game, preserve the history, promote the values, and celebrate excellence everywhere. That's who we try to be. We want our workplace to have a culture and an environment where people feel like there's a brotherhood. It's like a family. And then when we put something on that's as exciting as an enshrinement or the Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic, which was amazing last year. I mean, it was amazing the whole weekend. It's special. It's special because you're like, we did this. Like our family, we did this, and it's pretty awesome. So that's a really cool memory that you've made working here. So my last question, and then we'll get it back to Jake. He can continue this presentation. But we've loved sitting down and talking to you, Akil. So you're somebody, you attended an HBCU. You know, you come from a family, your dad attended an HBCU. So can you kind of just tell and kind of answer this question like you're talking to maybe high school students or even college students, but like how important are HBCUs, one, to society or culture, right? How important are they? And then based on your experience, like what do they have to offer, you know, in comparison to some of the other schools that we might be more familiar with?
Yeah, well, one, I would say there's nothing like the HBCU experience for me. You know, I can admit that I didn't know much about HBCUs before I had started my college search. You know, as a college senior, looking to see where I would possibly, go to play football or, receive my education. My dad went to HBCU. My mom, my aunts went to HBCU. Both my brothers, they went to North Carolina Central, but FAMU is always going to be the number one university, the biggest and the baddest. So, go Rattlers. But, the reason that I say that is because HBCUs were created for a, specific reason. When the world and the country didn't afford African Americans the opportunity to attend, other universities because of segregation.
Right.
HBCUs were created to provide that opportunity, and they still provide that opportunity today to all students, to anybody who were to attend those universities. But it's a real special culture. It's a real special environment. For me attending that school, it gave me an opportunity to lead, being the SAC president of the school, the academic advisory committee president, being able to serve on different boards as an athletic advisor and an ambassador, being a football captain of my team. It was a fit for me that allowed me to be not a small fish in a big pond, but it allowed me to be,
a bigger fish in a small
fish
pond.
in a big pond at my university. And not only that, but we played big games. We played, on national television, and really, it was the vehicle that got me to the place of where I am today. When I talk about my journey, I talk about faith, talk about family, talk about football, and I talk about FAMU at my HBCU that contributed to, where I am today. And my story is just an example to other young kids, to other young high school athletes, wherever they may be at, in the country, that these schools and these universities, they provide great opportunity. It's a great experience, a great education with some of the highest graduation rates for, doctors, for engineers, for entrepreneurs, business degrees. And we could go down a whole list of names of people that have came from these great universities. But it provided an opportunity when there wasn't an opportunity before, and they're still providing those great opportunities today. And I think me and my story, I'm just one example of those opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's a great response that really touched on the significance of the HBCUs and really what they can still offer students today. We've really enjoyed having this portion of our presentation, talking to you, Akil. We're excited about the Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic, and correct me, it's Grambling and Tennessee State next year.
Grambling, Tennessee State, it's going to be
so it'll be special. It'll be special, and we're excited about that next year. And Akil, I would shake your hand, but we got the social distancing and COVID-19, so I'll give you a little elbow.
All right.
Thank you, sir. And Jake, we're going to send it back to you to continue this presentation.
Go Rattlers.
All right, thank you guys, and dude, we are so grateful to have somebody like Akil as a part of our staff here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's provided great insight. He helped us put this presentation together based on his experiences and some of the things to include. And I will say, Akil, one of the best dressed staff members we have here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And also, I'm seeing some Facebook comments come here. If you're watching us, put your favorite HBCU. We'll take a toll. We'll take a tally. We'll see who we got the winner there at the end of the day. But right now we are getting some FAMU comments. So Akil, you're going to be happy seeing these faces, but we got some FAMU representation for sure. So we'll dive back into our presentation now. We're going to talk about one other time, and it was mentioned a few times throughout today, but it's the Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic. And that unfortunately was supposed to be played this weekend, but due to the COVID-19, we had to cancel it and make sure everybody stayed safe. But it's a college football kickoff game that has been played annually here in Canton, Ohio, starting last year, 2019, in Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. The game features a matchup of two HBCUs and is played on the Sunday before Labor Day. And you see the results there. Last year, Alabama A&M defeated Morehouse 35-30 with a truly a last-second Hail Mary touchdown for the win with about 4 seconds left on the clock. As you can see, 2020, we didn't have a game. And as Nathan and Akil both referenced, Tennessee State and Grambling State next year. So I got a little sizzle video here that kind of highlights everything that went on here in Canton, Ohio as a part of the Classic weekend here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
It is the NFL's 100th season. This is the Pro Football Hall of Fame where pro football was born, and this is now also the home of the Black College Football Hall of Fame. Born in Atlanta, but now here in Canton with a ribbon cutting yesterday. And we have a classic for you today on a holiday weekend with Alabama A&M from the SWAC and Division II Morehouse here. This, we hope, is a new tradition, a tradition for many years to come.
The game is all about huddling up, just like these guys are now. And when you're in that huddle, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. It matters about your heart.
You see these people have been enshrined. They're here to see the Hall of Fame now officially here in Canton. A lot of pride.
The dream of getting not only to the NFL, but here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame seemed impossible. But those HBCUs allowed for the game's greats to overcome those obstacles. A part of history that will now be on display here at the Pro Football Hall forever.
Also at the Hall, there will be a dance and drumline competition.
This is a gutsy play.
Something goes wrong here. Clock could run out on them.
Let's see what Glass does. Mcleod Glass will throw, end zone, and Jenkins has it for the touchdown with 3 seconds to go.
So you can see truly a great weekend here. One of the best football games I've ever seen in person. It was down to, like you saw there, the last second, but it was more than just that football game. There was a full weekend of activities and experiences for the people of Northeast Ohio and from all around the country to be here in Canton, Ohio and take part of. So the next part of our presentation is we're going to talk a little bit about those 2 individuals that Nathan and Akil referenced, founder James Shaq Harris and founder Doug Williams. We're going to kind of show you now the football side of their career and what they did and how they succeeded in the National Football League. As you see here, James Shaq Harris, he attended Grambling State University, was a 4-time SWAC champion, and an MVP of the 1967 Orange Bowl Classic. In the NFL, he played for the Buffalo Bills, the LA Rams, and as well as the Chargers. He was drafted in the 8th round in the 1969 NFL Draft, the first African-American to start a season at QB in NFL history, as well as the first African-American to start and win an NFL playoff game. He was a member of the Pro Bowl in 1974, and he's inducted to the SWAC Hall of Fame, the Grambling Athletic Hall of Fame, as well as the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and the Black College Football Hall of Fame right here in Canton, Ohio. See some of his stats there. He had over 1,000 attempts, over 600 completions, 45 touchdowns, threw for over 8,000 yards in his career, and he also had a 67.3 QBR. And we have a quick highlight video to show you just how great he was on the field and talk a little bit about his experiences as an African-American quarterback in the National Football League.
I never had any doubt that I can do it because of the success I'd had. There was the opportunity. I feared ever getting an opportunity to play. And I thank Coach Robinson for preparing me mentally to come into the NFL and had the patience to wait my turn and not be able to make any excuses, knowing that when that opportunity come, I had to take advantage of it. It brought hope to so many people that we were going to get an opportunity, and that's all we asked. We were no different than any other kid growing up. You know, you had dreams of wanting that opportunity and wanting things to be fair. And I think those words gave many of us hope that one day we would get that opportunity. I know it gave me hope, because I was right in the time I was thinking about, should I switch positions or should I continue to play quarterback? And I did continue. At that time, I decided that I would play quarterback.
All right, our next guy we're going to talk about is Doug Williams, quarterback from the National Football League. He also attended Grambling State University, two-time Black College Football Player of the Year, and he was fourth in the Heisman Trophy voting in 1977. In the NFL, he played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington Football Team. He was drafted 17th overall in the 1978 NFL Draft, the first African-American to be drafted in the first round. He played in the USFL for 2 seasons, and he was the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl. He was the MVP of that Super Bowl, and he's also in the Washington and Tampa Bay Ring of Honor and the Ring of Fame. And you can see his statistics there, over 2,500 attempts, over 1,200 completions, through 100 touchdowns in his career, over nearly 17,000 passing yards, and he had a 69.4 passer rating. And the next video we're going to show you guys is, again, Doug talking about some of his experiences in his playing days in the National Football League.
Well, being the first black quarterback in the National Football League to play in the Super Bowl, I did know that the Washington Redskins was the last team in the NFL to integrate. But the way I looked at it at that particular time was, I didn't look at it as the black quarterback of the Washington Redskins playing in the Super Bowl. I looked at it from a standpoint, I was the quarterback of the Washington Redskins who just happened to be black playing in the Super Bowl.
And for those football fans, you know that he succeeded so well in that game. Named the MVP, threw for nearly 300, over 300 yards throughout in that game, and really shown, how great he was on the football field. We're going to move on now. So we talked about, Doug Williams and Shaq Harris. And while they're in the Black College Football Hall of Fame, they're not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, not yet at least. So we want to show you guys some of the stars who are enshrined here in the Pro Football Hall of Fame who attended those HBCUs. So we've got Nathan back out in the museum, and he's in our Pro Football Hall of Fame gallery, and he's going to show everybody today some of those enshrinees. So Nathan, take it away.
Yeah, Jake, thanks for sending it back out here. And I know we've been all over the place. We started downstairs in the Black College Football Hall of Fame portion of our museum. We did that great interview with Mccallum in the Gold Jacket Lounge. And now I'm right here in probably the most iconic space of our museum, the Hall of Fame gallery, surrounded by these bronze busts. And before we kind of show you some of those guys that played at HBCUs, we want to let you know how significant, how special it really is to have one of these bronze busts. So in the history of football, there have been about 300 million people to play the game at all levels, Pee Wee, high school, all levels. Only 5 million have played college football. Of that 5 million, only about 30,000 have played, coached, or had some type of administrative role professionally. That's a lot, 30,000. And only 346 players, coaches, and administrators right now are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, 346. And then to take it another step further, about 10% of those attended HBCUs. We're talking about guys like Richard Dent. We're talking about Shannon Sharp. That's in the class of 2011. If we jump over to the class of 2014, we've got Claude Humphrey. We've got Aeneas Williams. Big name right there, Michael Strahan. You'll talk about him a little bit later, Jake. And then if you guys will follow me over here to the class of 2018, all right, we've got a lot of big names while we get over here. But in the class of 2018, from Jackson State University, HBCU, we got Robert Brazil. And then what was going to happen in 2020, the Centennial class, we have 3 more guys that attended HBCUs. We got Harold Carmichael, a wide receiver from the Eagles. We've got Winston Hill, offensive tackle from the Jets. And then Donnie Shell, who was a safety for that Steel Curtain in the 1970s with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right here is where those guys' bronze bust will be next year now when we have twice the fun in 21, when we enshrine the 2020 class and the 2021 class. But it's just so special that 10% of all the Pro Football Hall of Famers attended an HBCU. And that's why here in Canton, we think it's part of our responsibility to give them a home here with the Black College Football Hall of Fame. So, Jake, back to you.
All right, thanks, Nathan. As he mentioned a guy by the name of Michael Strahan. He also mentioned some bigger names or he didn't mention some bigger names, and we're going to talk about some of those individuals. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys again, and we're going to talk about 3 certain Hall of Famers that went to HBCUs, and you're going to recognize their names. Those are guys like Jerry Rice, guys like Walter Payton, and as Nathan said, like Mr. Michael Strahan. So we're going to look at their careers on the field as well and kind of see how their careers panned out and how they got to where they were in the NFL. So first of all, we're going to talk about Jerry Rice. He went to Mississippi Valley State. He had over 4,500 receiving yards and 50 touchdowns in college, and he actually finished 8th in the Heisman Trophy voting in 1984. And then you know for his career with the 49ers, but he also played for the Raiders and the Seahawks when he was in the NFL. He was drafted 16th overall out of Mississippi Valley State in 1985, won NFC Rookie of the Year. He's a member of 2 All-Decade teams. He also is a member of the 75th and 100th anniversary teams in the NFL. You know him, a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, and he's a record holder in career receiving yards, touchdowns, and receptions. If it's a receiving record, there's a good chance that Jerry Rice has, and you can see down there at the bottom over 1,500 receptions, 22,800 yards, and nearly 200 touchdowns. So we're going to see, kind of what his career looked like on the field. But first, we're going to talk about Mr. Walter Payton. Walter, he went to Jackson State. He originally committed to Kansas State, but wanted to go play with his brother, who was already playing at Jackson State. And he was actually a teammate with Nathan mentioned, Mr. Robert Brazil, was actually a teammate in college with Walter Payton. Now they're both Hall of Famers. He was the Black College Player of the Year in 1973 and 1974. And in the NFL, he was drafted 4th overall in 1975 and played for that vaunted Chicago Bears. He was the NFL MVP in 1977, member of 2 All-Decade teams in the 1970s and the 1980s. Again, also like Jerry Rice, member of the 75th and 100th anniversary teams, a Super Bowl champion, and his number 34 is retired by the Chicago Bears. And you can see his stats. At one time, he was the NFL's all-time leading rusher at over 16,700 yards, and he had 125 total touchdowns. And then last but not least, here we have Mr. Michael Strahan. The guy you see on Good Morning America every morning. He attended an HBCU. He's a Hall of Famer. He went to Texas Southern University, where he was first-team All-SWAC and the SWAC Player of the Year in 1992. And he was also the Black College Football Player of the Year in 1992 as well. He played with the New York Giants from 1993 to 2007. He was drafted in the 2nd round of the 93 NFL draft, so a sleeper, especially with the career that he had. He was the NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 2001, a member of the NFL's 2000s All-Decade team. He's in the Giants Ring of Honor. He's a Super Bowl champion, and he's a record holder for single-season sacks at 22.5, which has yet to be broken since he set that record. He has 854 tackles, over 141 sacks, 4 interceptions, which might not seem like a big number for defensive and defensive linemen. I'm sure he takes pride in that. And he has 24 forced fumbles. But so we've talked about all those great players who are Hall of Famers, who are in the Black College Football Hall of Fame, who are founders, who are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But we want to talk about some stars of today. Some of these names you might know, you may have heard them, you may have not, but these are all stars in today's NFL who went to HBCUs. For kind of the 2 ones that you really think of are Darius Leonard, who went to South Carolina State, a great linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts, huge impact player for the Colts last year and for years to come. Then we have Tariq Cohen, who's the running back for the Chicago Bears, kind of splashed onto the scene. That had a great rookie year, and it's kind of that third down back, that passing back there in the Bears offense. And then we have 2 offensive linemen, Jalen Hargraves, who went to South Carolina State, and Teron Armstead, who went to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. So as you can see, without Black College Football Hall of Fame, without HBCUs, the game of football obviously would look a lot different than it does today. So that's going to be it for us here. We're excited that we had the opportunity to talk to you guys today about the Black College Football Hall of Fame, about the history of HBCUs and their impact, not only in the game of football, but on society as well. And to kind of kick off what would have been the Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic weekend of 2020. Again, like we said, we're bummed that it's not happening today, but we're happy that everybody is hopefully staying safe back wherever they live. And, stay tuned for more. There's going to be more stuff rolled out all weekend about the Classic, about Black College Football Hall of Fame, about HBCU. So if you don't subscribe to any of the Hall social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, make sure you follow the Pro Football Hall of Fame because you're going to be able to catch all of that great information. You're also going to be able to see stuff like exclusive interviews. Yesterday, just released, Jameer Howerton, who's a great coworker of ours here at the Hall of Fame, interviewed Jason Wright, the newly named president at the Washington football team and former Cleveland Browns running back. He talked about all the things going on in football, his new position. So make sure you tune in, subscribe, like, follow, whatever it might be to all of that. And then, like we said at the beginning, this is our last educational program from the spring and the summer. So if you tuned in every week, we're happy that you did. We're excited that you did. You hope you guys learned a little bit about the Hall of Fame, the game of football, and hopefully you're able to take something back into your classroom and wow some of your students and maybe your coworkers at work. But we're not done. We are excited to announce next Friday we're going to start a brand new educational program called Before the Snap. This is a program that focuses on careers in and around the NFL. And we want to highlight all the great work that goes into NFL organizations and different organizations that are related to the game of football, Monday through Saturday, game day, to make that product on the field as perfect as it can be. So we're going to be highlighting all different careers coming up the first few. Next week, we are happy to kick off the program with a man by the name of Clint Oldenburg. He's an NFL legend, but right now he is the gameplay producer for EA Sports Madden NFL. And what he might be known most for is not only is he a legend, but he's what Madden calls a ratings adjuster. So he sets all the ratings. So if you see a guy like Juju Smith may have a 92 catch rating and he might not be too happy about that, Clint is the one that sets that rating. So he's constantly viewing game film, going to games and seeing how great these athletes are, maybe adjusting the ratings, good or bad, depending on their performance on the field. After that, we have our own Michelle Norris, the Senior Director of Gold Jacket Relations here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. She's going to talk a lot about her career as the liaison between us here in Canton, Ohio, and all the living and all of the Gold Jackets who are enshrined here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then to wrap this next month, we have Jen Mccallum, who's the Senior Director of Community Relations and Detroit Lions Charities up there in Detroit with the Lions organization. She's going to talk about her career, all the impact she's had in the nonprofit organization, and ways that her job impacts people in the surrounding community. So we are very excited. We want to show those learners in high school, college, beyond, young professionals, all the different things about different careers in the NFL. So we're really super excited to kick that off. So if you aren't already, plan to tune in next Friday at noon right here on the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Facebook page. And we're going to be interviewing Mr. Clint Oldenburg as part of the Before the Snap. So again, thank you so much for allowing us to take up some of your afternoon, teach you a little bit about the Hall of Fame, and specifically today, the Black College Football Hall of Fame and HBCUs. From myself, Akil, Nathan, and Jerry, who all had a hand in today, want to say thank you, and we'll see you here next week as we kick off our brand new series, Before the Snap. Thanks, everybody.